All right, let's get into this. Okay, but before I get into this, I want to do a little bit of a backup on the video I made about what's going on in Antarctica. That video kind of went, well, for my channel, hyper viral. I mean, it got almost 100 plus, it's over 100,000 views in like less than 2 weeks. I mean, I can't believe that. It's great, but I did screw up in there. Yes, I made a mistake. Buzz Aldrin is still alive. I can't say well, but he is still alive. I got conflicting reports that I knew John Glenn had died, but then I heard after Buzz Aldrin was airlifted out of Antarctica and taken to, I believe, New Zealand. Again, check it out in case I got that wrong. But I got that wrong, and then, of course, I was reminded several times. Every second comment was, "He's not dead. He's alive. You're a goof." But I think for the most part, I got everything else pretty accurate. But you do make mistakes when you do these things. There's no doubt about that, and I apologize for that. But I guess somebody else, other people, because I was seeing two reports. I was seeing one that, okay, John Glenn had died, and I seen that on the mainstream media, and then I'd seen a bunch of videos saying Buzz Aldrin had died, and I guess that was disinformation or whatever. But he was just sick. I knew he was sick, but then I thought maybe he died from whatever he collapsed of in Antarctica. But that said, I just wanted to clear that one up before I go into this. Now, this one is about the Arc of Gabriel. Yeah, this gets pretty Indiana Jones-ish, but I got a little bit of a thing to read for you. If you haven't been paying attention to what's going on in Antarctica, there's something very strange going on down there. Again, with all these world elites visiting, particularly at the time of the election, for example, John Kerry, the Democratic Party is like, pretty much on the heels of defeat when you need all hands on deck, and he's down in Antarctica during the election, which is, you could understand maybe the day after, or a week or two before, but like, it did make sense that he goes to get there on the day of. He leaves the day before the election, gets there the day of. And a bunch of other people, of course. I'll just get into this. So this one, I'll just start reading here. A strange series of seemingly linked news stories popped up recently about something called the Arc of Gabriel. It refers to the Gabriel's instructions to Muhammad, and it mentions, in conjunction with the mass deaths in Saudi Arabia, Russian military operations and secret bases in Antarctica, and most recently the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church. What is the Arc of Gabriel, and why is it suddenly in the news? I'd never heard of the Arc of Gabriel before until recently myself, so let's jump down here. The Angel Gabriel, and if you don't, there's Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that are in the Bible and stuff like that. So these archangels, you can clearly find a lot about them. But anyway, we'll go on here, just as a little sub note for somebody who may have never heard of the Archangel Gabriel before. Angel Gabriel, Grand Mosque, and Russian President Vladimir Putin. While substantiated references to the Arc of Gabriel seem to be non-existent, there are plenty unsubstantiated tales about it. The most popular story is that the Archangel Gabriel, who believed to told Mary she was going to give birth to Jesus, and dictated the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. Also gave an ark to Muhammad to bury at a place of worship where it would be not be removed until the end of the world. It is not the same Ark of the Covenant, which is mentioned in the Christian Bible and the Quran. The place of worship was believed to be the Grand Mosque, Masjid al-Haram Mosque in Mecca. Hopefully I said that right. But it's the big one, you can't miss it. It's like probably the biggest mosque in the world. In Saudi Arabia, where millions of pilgrimages annually, there's millions of people go there every year for their annual pilgrimage. I think every Muslim has to do it at least once in their life or twice in their life or something like that. If you're Muslim, you'll let me know. Anyway. And it's not all groups of Muslims, but I can't remember which ones go. I know obviously the Sunni would go. I don't know if the Shia go, but that type of thing. The Grand Mosque was being expanded in 2015 when on September 11th a crane fell, killing 107 people. A construction crew, one rumor was that the construction crew had discovered the Arc of Gabriel and was killed by a plasma emission. Less than 2 weeks later, on September 24th, an estimated 4,000 worshippers were killed in that was officially called a stampede, unofficially called another plasma emission linked to the Ark. I remember hearing about that. Now, these stampedes, every time there's these big pilgrimages, there's always people that get stampeded and died in it. But I remember this year it was usually it's like a few hundred that get killed in these stampedes, but this was like 4,000. So anyway, collapsed crane at the Grand Mosque. The story picks up in December 2015. Unconfirmed reports arose of the Russian Naval Research Vessel Admiral Valdomysky arrived in Saudi port city of Jerdath to pick up the Ark and take it to Antarctica for safekeeping, possibly in a secret Nazi base there. And apparently the Russian government knows the location of Russian ships were indeed seen in the area at the time on maneuvers. The Valdomysky had visited the port and reportedly for R&R and supply replenishment. The Admiral Valdomysky, fast forward to February 2016, when rumors of the Ark moved, pretending to the end of the world's reported prominent Pope Francis to meet with Patriarch Kirill. The first meeting of the heads of the Roman Catholic and the Russian Orthodox Church in almost 1,000 years. Part of their meeting was in secret, but it was alleged that the Pope gave the Patriarch an ancient secret manuscript about the Arc of Gabriel. Pope Francis and Patriarch Kirill meeting on February 12, 2016, where did the Patriarch Kirill go after meeting the Pope Francis to Antarctica? Which, I mean, take into account that this man is like almost 80 years old, or maybe he's around 80 years old, or whatever, however Patriarch Kirill is. He's an old man, so for him to go visit the Pope in Rome, that's a long trip, and then to head right to I believe he went to either New Zealand or Australia, and then over there to Antarctica. That's a lot of traveling for an old man in a short amount of time, so obviously there was some urgency there. Okay, and where did we go? Here we go. It was there he was photographed walking with the penguins, but not photographed allegedly praying with the secret document over the Arc of Gabriel at the Russian Orthodox Holy Trinity Church, the only church in Antarctica. The Ark and almost likely the secret manuscripts were then allegedly taken to Russia, secret force to even a more secret hideaway in Antarctica. Russia Orthodox Holy Trinity Church in Antarctica. There are a lot of holes in and unanswered questions in the simple, seemingly linked of events, starting with the unconfirmed history of the Arc of Gabriel and ending with the sworn enemies Russia and Saudi Arabia would be cooperating to protect this religious secret weapon. Whether you believe any or all of it, the story worthy of Dan Brown for those who love to smell of conspiracy in the morning. Okay, well, that's that article there. So what we got here that we can say for sure 100% is yes, people have been going to Antarctica. A lot of people in a very short amount of time. People have always, scientists and researchers have always been going to Antarctica since, it was kind of rediscovered. But we also know that there's a lot of mystery around Antarctica. For number one, you never hear hardly from anybody that goes to Antarctica and tells you what it was like after they get back. And there are rumors of, scientists and stuff like that go to Antarctica. And there's a bunch of them that came back and they were just terrified of something. The Buzz Aldrin conspiracy of him tweeting, and again, then I heard he died, but obviously he didn't die. So I guess I just, I heard wrong. But he tweeted that, what he saw there was pure evil, whatever. Now, we also know that there's a possibility of pyramids down in Antarctica. To me, it looks like pyramids. I know some people say, no, it's just the way the wind blows and it creates this whatever. But if that was the case, you would see these things all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, you would see these anomalies all over the place. But you don't. You only see a handful of them. And one pyramid, supposed pyramid, is reported to be 200 times larger than the pyramid at Giza, the biggest pyramid at Giza, which I think stands like 450 feet tall. That's pretty darn big. Now, there does also seem to be rumblings on the grapevine that they found something, and it's a technology. And I'm going to be doing a lot of series of videos. I'm trying to change up my channel a bit just to make it a little bit more interesting and stuff like that. And I do like some of the down the rabbit hole stuff. So I figured I would try to do something just a little bit different and bring you guys these things. I never say these things are absolute, that this is exact, because we can't substantiate 90% of this stuff, right? But we can say there's a lot of suspicious activity. You know, that's a given when it comes to Antarctica, because it's such a mystery to begin with, the place. The Admiral Byrd and stuff like that, I'll probably cover him in a little bit later. That one's really down the rabbit hole. But there's also, we do know the Nazis were looking for something in Antarctica. What were they looking for exactly? Who knows? I will be covering a very interesting video coming up on the Nazi occult, because I think there's some stuff there that, you know, it does go down the rabbit hole quite a bit, but it could be a reason why they went. You know, we know that the Nazis went to both Antarctica and the Arctic, and halfway through the war, they knew that there was a possibility they could lose the war. So they didn't want to, you know, be bombed into oblivion, which they kind of did get bombed into oblivion, but they wanted to make sure that whatever technology they had survived. Now, when you look at the World War II, Nazi Germany and World War II, when you look at how advanced their weaponry was per se, if you compare it to nowadays, it's not that advanced at all. It would be, you know, completely archaic. But how innovative it was, the ME-262 jet, the 163B Comet, the B-1, B-2 rockets, all this technology, some of the Nazi scientists said that they got the technology from other beings, that type of thing. So again, whether you believe that or not, that's some of the reports. And they don't, the technology apparently was ancient, and we know Hitler was fascinated by the Roman Empire and stuff like that, and the occult. And we also know that they did do the expedition to Antarctica. So there's definitely Nazi bases there. There might be a few bases there. The Russians, KGB, said that yes, there was a Nazi base there. Yes, they had found it. The exact locations are not really known. There is a supposed Nazi base, you know, the big hole in the earth, so to speak. They call it the Nazi UFO base. That picture has been shown on Google Earth. If that's what it is, it could just be a cave, for all we know. But the thing's about 100 feet wide, and I forget how tall it is. And it has, like, you know, it almost perfectly shaped to fly, you know, a kind of Hollywood version of a UFO, right? You know, round saucer-like UFO. Now, there was also reports, again unsubstantiated by the KGB, that when the Nazis fled to Antarctica, some of them, that they sent down in 1946 to 46 to 48, I believe it was, they sent down Admiral Byrd down there to clean up shop, you know, to basically not let them be able to get any better off. And apparently there was a big air battle containing, I guess, probably like P-51 Mustangs, and you guessed it, UFOs, Nazi UFOs. And they said some of these UFOs came out from the ocean, and some of these UFOs came out from the Nazi bases. Now, whether this is true or not, again, it's down the rabbit hole. You know, can we ever find proof of this? Who knows? But this is what's said. So is it just a fantastic tale? I don't know. Is the Arc of Gabriel a fantastic tale? I don't know. But if you know what Gabriel's role is in end times prophecy and stuff like that, you kind of get an idea of that. This is something that was discussed at, you know, it is out there. It is something that is a part of the Bible. So if you're a Bible believing person, depending on which Bible, Gabriel comes up quite a bit. And we also know about the Archangel Michael, which is pretty much, you know, God's go-to guy, right? You know, he is like, you know, when God needs somebody's ass to get kicked, he calls on Michael, right? So we know about that. And we know Gabriel is not really, you know, he's a little, you know, he's part of the fallen, right? So so with that, the Arc of Gabriel and the Ark of the Covenant, some theorize, if you go with the Ancient Aliens guys, they theorize that it's some sort of an atomic weapon, or some sort of sustainable energy. But the thing is that, did they discover civilizations in Antarctica? Some say yes. And the thing is, I think that actually is very plausible, because if you find, if you look around the world, I did a thing on pyramids, although it didn't get as quite as popular, but I think that video is worth a look, because some of the videos that I'm going to have coming out in the very near future, I don't know what dates they're going to come out on, but, you know, I try to work them on one at a time, that type of thing. And you're gonna start seeing patterns around the world, like the Siberian and uh, Central America, not Central America, but Costa Rica round balls. These ancient round balls that are just, these spheres, these stone spheres. They kind of show up. They're probably around the same age, and we know in Siberia there's not Siberia, Serbia, sorry. There's all these things that they're discovering there, and we also know about the pyramids underground in Crimea. So we see all this technology, and then of course all the Middle Eastern ancient civilization stuff that's there. But and in China and South America, all around the world, these pyramids and stuff seem to pop up. So it's kind of funny how this stuff all kind of pops up from the same amount of time. But there's even pyramids under the ocean. So this stuff is really old. So how old are the pyramids in Antarctica? Well, it's hard to say. There's also that Ottoman map from the 1500s where they show Antarctica without ice on it. And apparently there was a civilization there. So is that the Atlanteans? Who knows, right? So anyway, the Arc of Gabriel, could that be what's going on in Antarctica? And if so, why? Like, what would they be moving? If this thing is real, the logical question is, why would they be moving it? And why would they move it there? And why would they be moving it there for safekeeping? You know what I mean? It was already buried. It was already, or is that, is that what the world events we see unfolding in front of us now, is that what it's really about? Is to, to protect this technology so it doesn't get into the wrong hands. But however, that's if that's what it is. The other thing that you gotta, and again, to be fair on both sides, real, not real, whatever. Why I find you don't really hear much from people who have been to Antarctica. So if you've been to Antarctica and you want to debunk this stuff, by all means, throw your comments down. You'll probably get trash talked in the comments. That usually happens no matter what side of the aisle you're on. But try to keep it civil if you can. But that said, again, you can't really find out much about Antarctica at all. There's weather stations there. They do experiments there. There's some photos of researchers and stuff down there, but you don't really find out much. You know what I mean? Like there's really not a lot that you can find out on it. So it's kind of strange. And usually in Antarctica, there's about maybe 1,000 to 4,000 people per year that go down there during the summer months, and there's usually 1,000 people staying there all through the winter because the winters are so harsh down there. That type of thing. So yeah, it's a fair amount of travel in there. You'd think there'd be more coverage of it. And we also know that they have been discovering new species of sea creatures and stuff like that, like white octopuses and stuff like that. There's also rumors of these 14 tentacled octopuses down there that are apparently really smart, and they've actually killed some Russian scientists. They said it was like nothing they'd ever seen before. And there's also these other kind of sea creatures that are, not really, we don't know what they are. And as there's some lakes there that they're going into, and they're finding stuff that's basically lakes that haven't been for thousands of years, or there's 3 miles of ice on the thickest part of the Antarctica, and there's all kinds of lakes and stuff underneath there. Now, how much volcanic activity is under the ice? I don't know. That could explain where a lot of this fresh water keeps coming from Antarctica. They can't quite figure it out. It's fresh water going over. The sea ice is fresh water. That thin layer, it's sea ice, is fresh water. So they're like, where's the melt coming from? So it has to be something, heat coming out from the bottom. There's also those giant fissures where you could pile like something like 3 Eiffel Towers end on end, and to get to the bottom. They're huge. And some people think that's where UFOs have crashed or something like that. Yeah, again, whichever. But otherwise, no matter which way, even if there's logical explanations for all this, it's still a fascinating mystery of a place on this planet. That's what I enjoy the most is the mystery. Because we don't have all the answers. We don't know. Now, I guess I'll just finish up on this with the Arc of Gabriel. The other things, what they call the woo-woo. There's some people out there that, I guess they do more research on this and saying that there is going to be a technology revealed within the next couple of years, starting in 2017, to let people know that, yes, we're not alone in the universe, which, I think it's impossible that there isn't extra life out there. Not that I believe that, there's all kinds of, aliens like us out there, but, the idea of the water bear. If you don't know about the water bear, it can basically survive. It's a little microorganism that can survive into like minus 300 and up to a plus 160. So when you got something like that can exist on this planet, it's almost, I mean, this thing would be at home in outer space. It could probably live on some parts of Venus or Mercury. You know what I mean? Considering how hot those planets are. So we already have organisms on this planet that could survive in those harsh environments. So that tells me, and there's things that live around like underground or underwater volcanic fissures. You've got sea life that lives around that. What could be more toxic than living around something like that? So yes, we couldn't live there, but doesn't mean other things couldn't. And at some, the laws of averages says that yeah, there's probably other life out there. Even Stephen Hawking was out there saying that we have to be careful what signals we send out into outer space, because depending on if we find intelligent life out there, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be friendly. So that type of thing. So we have sent out was it the Viking, not Viking, back in the 70s and stuff like that. Basically, reruns of I Love Lucy and a bunch of other stuff on there, and some Elvis tunes. Send it out, hi, we're from Earth, this is where we are, that type of thing. But again, we could be setting ourselves up for an invasion, that type of thing. So, and remember Ronald Reagan talking about, Star Wars, that type of thing, that, for an extraterrestrial threat. We had George Bush talk about it. Now, are they talking about it tongue-in-cheek and just joking around? It's hard to say. And then remember Barack Obama saying at uh, one of his fundraisers, he talked about Area 51, and everybody laughed when he said, it was, you do realize I'm the first president in history to acknowledge the existence of Area 51? And like, okay, I got my criticisms about Obama, but he was right on that for sure. It's like, yeah, like at this point, why deny it, right? So the next question is, what's it there for? What are you doing there? Now, the other thing is, with Antarctica, this comes from, I think we're going to find out where, according to other sources, that we're going to find out possibly where all these, black budget project, all this billions and trillions of dollars that go missing from the U.S. government and other governments that just go missing. I think, yeah, a lot of it is just, regular politician corruption. But do you really think that the space shuttle, could take a $3 bolt and turn it into a $300 bolt? Do you really think they could find a way to inflate that bolt that much? You know what I mean? It's the same like the F-35 program. I'm just wondering what the real program is. I think people are starting to look at it like the F-35 program is such a wasteful program. You got a machine that kind of works some days, and kind of, I wouldn't want to be the pilot flying this thing in combat with all the issues it has. But it seems like this thing, again, it was designed in the 90s, and they could barely get them off the carrier decks. They have a few that fly, but I mean they're maintenance nightmares. They're not really that well designed when you think about it. They can't fly on their own. They need a complete fly-by-wire, and just it took them 10 years just to get to be able to get this thing to fly. So why would it be so expensive? Well, it's simple. The money that goes into that's the cover, is that you're spending all this money on something that's never really designed to work fully functionally. It's designed to be an ongoing make-work project. So the question is okay, we understand make-work project, but why does it have to be so expensive and so astronomically budget overrun? It's because that money, and a lot of that money you probably won't be able to track. So where does it go? It goes into black projects. So what are the black projects? Well, who knows? It depends what technology's out there. Look at CERN, for example. Are they really trying to create a black hole on the Earth? Like, are they really trying to? What are they really doing with that machine? Like that machine has a lot of, a lot of stigma around it as well. But the thing is that we never really know what these people, the world elites, are up to when it comes to things like this. But when you just start seeing everybody flood into Antarctica, people that you wouldn't expect to do that, it does raise suspicion. It does raise suspicion. So will we ever know? Who knows? But I think at some point, I think people are drawing connections that there's more to the story than is being let out. So I guess I'll leave it at about that. So the Arc of Gabriel, there's no way, again, to really say it exists. It's not. But if the Ark of the Covenant exists, there's, if it's the same type of technology, why wouldn't the Arc of Gabriel exist? You know what I mean? That type of thing. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Next to that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. G'day, hi, and welcome. All right, let's get into this. Okay, but before I get into this, I want to do a little bit of a backup on the video I made about what's going on in Antarctica. That video kind of went, well, for my channel, hyper viral, and it got almost 100 plus. Oh, it's over 100,000 views in like less than 2 weeks. I mean, I can't believe that. It's great, but I did screw up in there. Yes, I made a mistake. Buzz Aldrin is still alive. I can't say well, but he is still alive. I got conflicting reports that I knew John Glenn had died, but then I heard after Buzz Aldrin was airlifted out of Antarctica and taken to, I believe, New Zealand. Again, check it out in case I got that wrong. But I got that wrong, and then, of course, I was reminded several times. Every second comment was, "He's not dead. He's alive. You're a goof." But I think for the most part, I got everything else pretty accurate. But you do make mistakes when you do these things. There's no doubt about that, and I apologize for that. But I guess somebody else, other people, because I was seeing two reports. I was seeing one that, okay, John Glenn had died, and I seen that on the mainstream media, and then I'd seen a bunch of videos saying Buzz Aldrin had died, and I guess that was disinformation or whatever. But he was just sick. I knew he was sick, but then I thought maybe he died from whatever he collapsed of in Antarctica. But that said, I just wanted to clear that one up before I go into this. Now, this one is about the Arc of Gabriel. Yeah, this gets pretty Indiana Jones-ish. But I got a little bit of a thing to read for you. If you haven't been paying attention to what's going on in Antarctica, there's something very strange going on down there. Again, with all these world elites visiting, particularly at the time of the election, for example, John Kerry, the Democratic Party is like, pretty much on the heels of defeat when you need all hands on deck, and he's down in Antarctica during the election, which is, you could understand maybe the day after, or a week or two before, but like, it did make sense that he goes to get there on the day of. He leaves the day before the election, gets there the day of. And a bunch of other people, of course. I'll just get into this. So this one, I'll just start reading here. A strange series of seemingly linked news stories popped up recently about something called the Arc of Gabriel. It refers to the Gabriel's instructions to Muhammad, and it mentions, in conjunction with the mass deaths in Saudi Arabia, Russian military operations and secret bases in Antarctica, and most recently the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church. What is the Arc of Gabriel, and why is it suddenly in the news? I'd never heard of the Arc of Gabriel before until recently myself, so let's jump down here. The Angel Gabriel, and if you don't, there's Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that are in the Bible and stuff like that. So these archangels, you can clearly find a lot about them. But anyway, we'll go on here just as a little sub note for somebody who may have never heard of the Archangel Gabriel before. Angel Gabriel, Grand Mosque in Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin. While substantiated references to the Arc of Gabriel seem to be non-existent, there are plenty of unsubstantiated tales about it. The most popular story is that the Archangel Gabriel, who believed to told Mary she was going to give birth to Jesus and dictated the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad, also gave